Relish, pleasing or zestful flavor.
A quantity just sufficient to flavor, to be pleased or gratified by, enjoy.
We are hoping that what we bring to your table today might add some spice to your life.
Welcome back to another episode of Relish. I'm Rowan Miller, and this is Don Patterson. How are we doing, Don?
All right. Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah.
Still got a lot of energy this morning, or wearing?
Oh, yeah. I took my vitamins this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And I've had 2 or 3 cups of coffee.
Somewhere? Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I think you watched me consume a couple of them. So,
I did.
yeah, we're not falling asleep now. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, get right into it here. This is a good question, good series of questions here. So, is work a good thing? Is there work in heaven? And is there a purpose in meaningless work?
Oh, meaningless work. Oh, man. Well, yes, work is ordained. Did you know that?
Ordained.
Yes.
Maybe I did, but wouldn't have been able to tell you that.
I'm looking at Genesis chapter 2, and there we go. It is in verse 5, 6, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to work the ground, but streams came from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. And he planted a garden, and that's where he put the man. So, looks like man was there for work, eh?
Mm-hmm. No. Lord took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden to work it and watch over it.
Right. And I think, of course, people probably will look at me and say, well, yeah, you're a workaholic. But I think God ordained our work to be in reflection of our gifts. In other words, as we are created, we're created with certain gifts, and we use those gifts, and then our work doesn't seem much like work, right? So if you're doing something you love doing, it doesn't seem like slavery, work. and that's basically a lot of what we think work is. It's slavery. It's hard. It's not fun. But God created us to enjoy work, enjoy the work of our hands, live from the work of our hands, meaningful work. Now, the second part of your question was about not meaningful work.
Meaningless.
Meaningless activities. Yeah. I don't participate in a lot of meaningless activities.
Yeah.
I going through the motions is not inspiring to me. And so I'm not sure that's quite as blessed. Maybe it needs to happen. Okay, administration. Nobody likes to do administration. All the paperwork and things behind. But if you ever get into a situation like, oh, what did we do on January 5th? And we made decisions. What was that all about? And if somebody didn't record it, how would you know?
Yeah.
And so somebody has to do that kind of work. And do you know, there are actually people who enjoy detail work, administration. They really go for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not me. But anyway, so what might be meaningless to me might be meaningful to someone else. Meaningless work. Yeah.
Or like the notes that they take are meaningless until you need to know.
Right. I think of Romans chapter 12, and Paul sort of illustrates it this way. For the grace given me, I ought to say to everyone, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself in sober judgment in accordance with the measure of faith God has given you. Just as each one of us has one body with many members, and these bodies don't all have the same function, so in Christ, we are many, and we form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have gifts according to the grace given us. If a man's gift is prophesying, is yours prophesying? Let him use his in proportion to his faith. I've never heard you prophesy yet. We'll have to work on that. If it's serving, let him serve. If it's teaching, let him teach. If it's encouraging, let him encourage. If it's contributing to the needs of others, let him do so generously. If it's leadership, let him govern diligently. If it's showing mercy, let him do it cheerfully. And so basically, as I look down through that list, there's a couple of those that I get excited about, and there's a couple of those I would rather not have to do. So I think we're uniquely put together in the body of Christ, the church, that not all of us have the same gifts, and that's intentional that we not. And so what feels meaningless to me feels meaningful to someone else.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that came close to answering your question. What was the question again? As we got to the end of it.
3 parts. Is work a good thing?
Mm-hmm.
Which we learned it was. Is there work in heaven?
Oh, is there work in heaven?
Forgot about that part. You got the last part, but
yeah, is there work in heaven? Yes, it's worship. We'll be worshiping.
Is worship work though?
Well, it's activity of our. It's activity. I mean, what is work anyway? I mean, maybe if your definition of work is it's that which causes me to sweat. I mean, if that's your definition of work, well, we probably won't sweat it in heaven. But if it's an activity with which I invest my time, yeah, there'll be work in heaven.
Yeah.
There was also Right Now Media had a whole conference in 2018, I think it was, 2019, talked about work as worship. Work as worship. Okay. And the concept was, you've been given certain gifts. I've been given certain gifts. As we exercise those gifts to the Lord's honor and to the Lord's glory, it's actually worship. Just as if we were singing a hymn on Sunday morning, which is in some people's gear house and not in others. But our work actually then becomes our worship. And they were a lot of entrepreneurs were part of that conference and talking about how God had led them into a business. And in leading them into that business, they glorified God, openly glorified God for what he had done in their life and what he was doing for their employees through the business. And so they saw their work as worship. Can you imagine what that would change? Not only in our church environment, if we're all leaning into the gifts we've been given for the church, but if we did it for our community? If we as Christians were leaning into the giftedness that God had done in our lives for our community, it would change things. It would change not only things, it would change our attitude about things. And that, I think, is as much important as anything else, to treat our work as worship. Yeah. Good question. Whoever gave that question, make sure you give them a hug for us. That was good.
Kind of the same thing. How can we, not the same thing, but how can we serve God or like live and fulfill our purpose in a like non-missions?
Not going overseas?
Yeah, non-missions career, or like just some random job like a engineer or like something, like not a pastor, not a worship leader, not,
I don't think there exists such a thing.
Okay.
I think, okay, here's my attitude. And you guys can keep me on check on this. I don't call the church building a building. I call it a mission station.
Okay. So
that as we dismiss from our worship, we're all going into missions. Some of us may go to Haiti and some of us may go to Congo and go across the ocean. But most of us are moving from the mission station into our mission. It's our family, it's our neighborhood, it's our workplace. That's where we're living out Jesus.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it doesn't matter whether you're shoveling manure or whether you're designing the Golden Gate Bridge, you can do it to the honor and glory of God. Not only for the benefit of all humanity, which, a bridge helps quite a few people out, but you're doing it for the relationships involved. So that in your workplace, you are representing Christ, if you will. I know a pastor who has this term, and I love it. You are revealing Christ well, right from where you're at. And I don't think anything, I think anything you do in that format, the attitude with which you do it makes it a mission.
Okay.
Yeah, you could, you know.
So church is essentially like where you refine your skills and then you're sent out.
Missionary meeting, yeah. Every Sunday mornings, missionary meeting. Yes, let's get recharged. Get ready to go again. Yes. You know, that would change things on Sunday morning too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If we approached it as a missionary meeting and a recharging to get us ready for the week.
Yeah. More of a thing for your personal spiritual health rather than like, oh, it's Sunday, I have to go to church.
Yeah, I got to go to church.
Yeah.
I got to preach this morning. Yeah, it changes. It's amazing how if we put Christ in the middle of our attitude, how it changes our approach to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
If our time for Christ is on Sunday morning for maybe 2 hours, we've minimized the impact Jesus has not only on our own life, but on everybody around us.
Mm-hmm.
So if we would put Christ in the middle of our work, in the middle of our family, that changes everything.
Yeah. I heard if you eat once a week, you'll starve. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sunday isn't good.
Yeah. And this book is available daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine I'm going to keep, but you probably have one like
another
it.
One that you
like
can
it.
get,
Yeah. You can have your own personal copy in this nation. Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can look at it anytime you want to.
Yeah.
Or all the time you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it neat that as Christians, we really only have to be proficient in one major literary work?
It's true.
I mean, I've got gobs of books in my library, but I only need to be proficient in one.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can handle that.
Well, you're excelling in it, so
I can handle that. Yeah, that's good.
All right. Is it okay for us as Christians to sue?
Oh man, we really shouldn't. 1 Corinthians chapter 5 talks about, is it 5 or 4? 6. This is where it ends. If any of you has a dispute with another, dare he take it? I love Paul.
Yeah.
Dare he take it before the ungodly for judgment instead of to the saints? Do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if you are to judge the world, are you not competent to judge trivial cases? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. Then he adds number 7. The very fact that you have lawsuits among you means you have been completely defeated already. Ooh, ouch, ouch. And so, yeah, probably better not do a lot of lawsuits, at least Christian to Christian, and that never goes very well.
Yeah.
Christian to Christian. It usually separates the churches. What I think we'd like to go back to is Matthew chapter 5, and Jesus talks about this in the midst of, basically lawsuits are because we get tiffed at each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, you've heard it said from people long ago, don't murder. And anyone who murders, this is chapter 5 of Matthew. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyone who murders is subject to judgment. But I tell you, anybody who's angry with his brother is subject to judgment. Anyone who says to his brother, Raka, is answerable to the Sanhedrin. But anyone who says to you, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So he seems to be fairly strong on this point.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar, that'd be worship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that your brother has something against you, a tiff.
Okay.
Leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and reconcile to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who's taking you to court. Don't do it while you're still with him on the way, or he may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. I tell you the truth. You will not get out until you have paid every last penny. Jesus has a toot on this, doesn't he?
Mhm.
That being the case, we are still human, and we get in tiffs with each other.
Yeah.
So how do Christians handle tiffs? I hope better than the world does.
Yeah.
But if there's a tiff in the church, if there's that kind of thing that you would take somebody to court with, you really need to talk to the elders of your church. And both parties need to be part of that and work it out at church. I know that I've been a part of these kind of discussions over the years, time and time and time again. And sometimes it was between brothers in two different churches.
Yeah.
And so I would call that pastor, and he and I would get together, and then we'd meet with the people and we'd work it out between. And sometimes everybody was happy and sometimes nobody was happy, but we were trying to make sure that we were honoring these scriptures, because we should be able to do this. And I've worked with everything from wood piles. They were mad about wood piles. Situation where coming up to communion, and there was a disagreement between these two brothers, and it was obvious they would not speak to each other because they sat on separate sides of the church, and they go out separate doors, and they wouldn't talk with each other. And so when it got to communion time, there was a question about, are you going to get these guys together? And so I listened to what it was all about, and they had adjoining ground, and the guy on we'll say the right side, wanted to take out the hedgerow that was between the two properties.
Yeah.
And he asked the other guy if he would help pay for the bulldozer. Says, no, I'll let you take the hedgerow out, but I'm not going to pay for the hedgerow. I'm not going to pay for the bulldozer.
Yeah.
That's your doing. So the guy paid for the bulldozer, had the hedge taken out, and he takes all the wood on his side. And he takes care of the posts. He keeps the posts, all the firewood he keeps.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy on the left was ticked because he thought he should get part of the wood. And I sort of looked away and I thought, wait a minute, you didn't pay for the bulldozer.
Yeah.
Why do you think you get the wood? Well, it ended up, he wasn't very happy, but he heard us. And
it's interesting, but it seems like it happens. Like,
it happens. That's reality, folks. That's reality. And if you think the pastor only works on Sunday, come to my office. Come catch up with me in the middle of a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Good question, though.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
Well,
are we done?
I think so. But...
Since we've redone the studio, we were missing one element. Did you notice?
Yeah, the clock.
So this may be a 30-minute episode. We don't know for sure. God bless.
To kind of look at the phone and see what time we start, but end up forgetting because
we had it in the other studio. We had a clock, and so we knew closer. We'll get it for next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys as always for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this podcast. Feel free to become part of this ministry by sharing it with others. Our goal is to help each other grow deeper in our understanding of who God is and His calling to us in our daily lives. Thank you again for joining us, and may God bless your day.